Hey everyone, thanks for joining me for Broadband Deployment News. So there's a lot, obviously, of focus on fiber and how we can bridge a digital divide with fiber and reach subscribers that maybe are not getting good broadband now. But what do you do when you come to a multi-dwelling unit like an apartment building? So you get your fiber there. What do you do about getting that into the building or getting broadband service into the building? Do you tear out the existing wiring, put in fiber, or what do you do? So there are options that would be better than rewiring, and I'll be talking about that today. Thanks for joining me. Again, this is Rick Uzzi for Broadband Deployment News. So as I mentioned, that's a challenge. So there's a lot of effort being put in to bring broadband to unserved and underserved areas, but you could get your fiber connection all the way to an MDU, and then if they've got old wiring, if they've got phone wiring in there, coax, whatever wiring they have in there, it's kind of a challenge on what to do with that. Do you tear out the old wiring, put in something new? Some are delivering DSL to those buildings, so maybe the service is not that good. They're delivering it over that phone wiring. But there's something called G.hn that I wanted to talk about because I saw this article that I thought would be very interesting. So I'm going to go ahead and just talk through some of this. And then also I did a video on G.hn not that long ago with Livia Rosu, who's the president of the Home Grid Forum, who manages the standard here. So this was in the UTC Journal. That's as you see here, the official publication of the Utilities Technology Council, Communities Closing the Digital Divide. So that's where that is. And I want to scroll down here. Sorry, I'm going to scroll down a ways here to where I was reading this. Almost there. There we go. So again, bridging the digital divide, profitably doing more with less. This is an article by CEO of Positron Access, CEO and founder Reg Weisler. Now, just a note, he is with a vendor, Positron, a vendor that does provide G.hn, but they're not the only vendor. Again, there's lots of vendors that are supporting the standard, but he's the guy who wrote this article, just to be aware of that. So I'm also going to share at the end of this a link to the Home Grid Forum. You can see all of the vendors that are there. You can get some more information about that as well. But what is it? So I'm going to read through this a little bit, just sections that I've highlighted. I'm starting here on the left side. So he talks a little bit about the issue here. So 25% of the U.S. population lives in multi-unit residential buildings. 88% of existing residential buildings do not have in-building fiber wiring, and the residents are underserved. Now, I don't know if he's using that term in the same way that it would be used, for example, in the Infrastructure and Investment Jobs Act of underserved, which would mean less than 100 by 20, possibly, I guess, depending on the wiring. Although, it says here, although carriers can bring greenfield fiber to fixed wireless gigabit services to older brownfield residential buildings, MDUs, they cannot cost-effectively and easily distribute that bandwidth to the occupants due to the complexity of extending fiber directly to each door. Therefore, these buildings are often bypassed by carriers, resulting in a digital divide. So this point there is that carriers might be less likely to say, let's go ahead and hook up this building because we can get the fiber there easy enough, but then what do we do, right, as I was saying. So extending the fiber network requires manpower, disruptive construction, high capex, and a long timeline to revenues. The rewiring cost is typically $600 to $800. If a carrier gets a 50% initial take, they would be doing well. The cost per home activated is then doubled to $1,200 to $1,600. And up here at the top mentions that means that 50% of the capex would be a dormant investment. Then you can ask some questions here. They're good questions, and there are good answers for this with G.hn. So he says, what if a carrier can use the existing telephone pairs or coax cable in the building to deliver the bandwidth without rewiring or construction costs? Yeah. What if the solution were scalable and can be delivered as needed in a pay-as-you-grow timing? What if even a 10 to 15% take rate would be profitable? So rather than, one of the points he makes in here is that if you're going to rewire the building with fiber, you don't just rewire an apartment here and there. You basically rewire everything in the building. So you've got to lay out all of that, get the building completely rewired, because you don't want to do that every time a subscriber says, yeah, I'd like your service. You're not going to want to have to then wire them. So basically, with fiber, rewiring the building, you can do everything. But here, you can kind of pay as you go because you're using the existing wiring. What if the time to revenue from the connection of the building or home cluster junction point to a fiber or fixed wireless feed to the building only takes hours. So his point there is, again, if you connect the building to fiber, but then you have to rewire everything, you've got a long time before you're going to have any customers up and running. But here, once you connect the building up, it just takes a couple of hours to get everything hooked up with G.hn on a per subscriber basis. This technology exists. It's called Gigabit Home Network, or G.hn. It's an ITU standard and is used in broadband extenders to boost or extend internet service over the power lines to rooms a short distance away from the Wi-Fi router in homes. It is much more noise immune resilient than DSL. The limitation of those extenders is that you cannot use them to deliver bandwidth very far or to more than one residential unit. So he's talking about over power lines there. G.hn technology has been adapted to work to operate on telephone pairs and on coax cable to deliver very high-speed broadband for extended distances. So the way HomeGrid Forum markets this is any, I forget what their slogan is, but basically any line going into the building you can use. That could be power, could be plastic fiber cable, I think they talk about, but then of course coax and twisted pair, which I would think would be your usual media that you would send that over. Gigabit services, 1 gig per second on one telephone pair to 500 feet, or on two telephone pairs, MIMO, to 800 feet. When used on coax cable, the gigabit per second virtually symmetrical bandwidth can be delivered to 2,600 feet. It will also work with up to 16 splitters per port, encoding its use over existing coax installations. G.hn technology is available in 24, 12, 8, and 4-port units that can be easily chained together, making the solution scalable. These units are called G.hn, or Gigabit Access Multiplexers, or GAMs. The solution is ideal for MDUs and MTUs as it can be installed in hours and can immediately deliver revenues. The cost is 25% of the cost of extending fiber, so a carrier can quickly grow its high-speed bandwidth subscribers and be cash flow positive in the first year. Just as applicable for home clusters with outdoor GAM units, so not just a building, an MDU, but if you've got clusters of homes, they say it's just as applicable, powered by reverse power feeds from each residence. It eliminates the need to bring local power to the unit. It says the GAM, or the Gigabit Access Multiplexer, can be placed near a telephone pedestal in a fiber feed and uses the existing telephone pairs to bring gigabit service directly to each residential gateway. No need for trenching, disturbing landscaping, or drifting into or drilling into the structure. So again, you can see the benefits there. None of this having to do rewiring, as he mentions here, just trenching and landscaping and all that. If you're going from home to home, none of that is required. So that's just what I want to read. There's more in this article that you can read through, so I will post this. I'll post a link to this. Again, I did a video on my Tech Tuesday with Olivia Rosu, who is president of the HomeGrid Forum, and we talked about this at length. So you may be interested in watching that. I will go ahead and link to that, and then I will also link to the HomeGrid Forum website. You can read all about them here under certification, or certified systems actually. You can see that there are lots of vendors, including Positron, that was, again, the CEO was the author of that article in the UTC magazine, but in this case you can see Action Tech, Aris, Comtrend, what we got there, D-Link, Devalo, lots of different ones. And that's just the first page. I know that, let's see, we got, is it Max Linear? Max Linear is a chip. So we got some chip folks that do this as well, but this is the equipment that those chips would be used in. So you can see the long list of vendors here. So if you are a fiber provider and looking at installing service into a existing building, and how you're going to do that, that would be a great option for you. So again, I'll post those links shortly after this live video feed is done, this video stream. Don't forget that if you are a fiber provider or any broadband provider and you're looking for services, we can help you. Everything from pre-deployment services to deployment services to post-deployment. So everything from engineering, feasibility studies, construction, all the way through hosting email for subscribers, provisioning of devices, diagnostics, fiber diagnostics, to be able to see what's going on in the fiber network. All these services are available from Z-Corp. So check us out. You see our website address there and our email address. Contact us if you've got any questions on that. I hope this was helpful. If it was, please give me a thumbs up. on YouTube, and make sure if you're not subscribed, click the subscribe button, click the little bell to be notified anytime I'm live. And I'm live pretty much every day for Broadband Deployment News. And I do Tech Tuesdays on Tuesdays at 3 o'clock. Thanks again, and I will see you next time. Bye-bye.